Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Where's the light? Here's the light. Okay. Welcome to the Norton Museum of Art, and thank you very much for your patience. I'm sorry we're starting a few minutes late. My name is Glenn Tomlinson. I'm the William Randolph Hearst Chief Officer of Learning and Community Engagement here at the museum. We're very pleased to welcome all of you back to Sunday afternoon concerts. It's been a few years. And what a way to kick it off with Bill Mays and his brief history of jazz piano. This 90-minute program kicks off our season of Sunday afternoon concerts, all supported through the great generosity of Lois Eben. Lois is not here today, but I hope that she'll be able to join us and see an audience like this at some of our future dates. So a couple of things. Because we are videotaping this concert today from the back of the auditorium, I would like to make sure that your phones are on silent or totally turned off, so if you would please just check that right now. I also ask, for same reasons, that there is no recording taking place during the concert and no photographs as well. Before we welcome Bill Mays to our stage, I would just like to remind you that after the holidays, we will be back with several concerts in January. I'm just going to run through them very quickly. Jazz Friday is a regular First Friday event here at the Norton Museum of Art. If you love jazz, please join us on the first Friday of every month. And on January 6th, we will feature New York-based jazz pianist Alexander Wu in a concert tribute to George Gershwin. Just 2 days after that, on Sunday, January 8th, we'll host our next Sunday afternoon concert. And this will be a multimedia program created, narrated, and performed by pianist Leslie Amper called Sounds That Inspired Them, American Modern Artists and Music. And this is not the first such program Leslie Amper has created. She has created programs like this, fusing music and the art of its time with the National Gallery of Art and other museums as well. And then finally, on January 20th and Friday the 20th and Saturday the 21st of January, in conjunction with the museum's Lunar New Year celebration, an artist who performs on the Chinese lute, or pipa, her name is Min Xiaofen, will perform on Friday evening at Art After Dark. That program will be in this hall. She'll be joined by guitarist Rez Abbasi, and they will perform music she wrote recently for a 1930s era silent Chinese film. So the film will be on the screen, and they will perform right before your eyes. And then on the next day, Min Xiaofen will be back for a concert of traditional music for the Chinese pipa. So that's just a few of the concert programs that are coming up. We are getting more and more up on our website each day, so please check it out. There will be a lot more coming this season. But right now, I've already taken too much time. Please welcome to our stage, so thrilled to have him here. After seeing him several years ago up in the North Palm, Jupiter area, in a performance with Tierney Sutton. So grateful to Bill and Judy Mays, and delighted to have them here. Oh, and one last note. There are CDs and Bill's recent autobiography available after the concert, and all proceeds go to the Relief Fund for Musicians. So please stop by, say hello, and enjoy this 90-minute program, A Brief History of Jazz Piano.
a brief history of jazz piano. A brief history of jazz piano? To do the subject justice would take 3 or 4 more sessions like this. The pantheon of major contributors to jazz piano numbers well over 100. Who I've chosen and who I've left out, it's no judgment on their talents. Earl, Fatha, Hines, Dave Brubeck, and Mary Lou Williams are no less or more important than Oscar Peterson, Ahmad Jamal, or Carla Bley. The thing that they all have in common is that they all found their own sound. Not easy when you realize that the piano, unlike a trumpet or saxophone, can't rely on the player's airflow to humanize the sound. We must do it with fingers pressing keys, causing a hammer to strike a string. So the dynamics and quality of sound must be created through finger movement, then mixing, if you will, of the sound with the pedals, the making of harmonies, that's combinations of 2 or more notes to produce chords, and most vital of all, the order, contour, and density of notes we choose to play when we improvise. Because fundamentally, of course, jazz is endless variations on a theme, spontaneous composition. It's a chipping away at the marble or applying the oil paint in real time. As you came in today, you were treated to the music of Art Tatum, one of the greatest of them all. When Tatum was in the room, the often heard whisper was, God is in the house. Probably more than any other pianist, Art Tatum influenced and inspired us all. My goal today is to introduce you to several influential contributors from the early 1900s to the present. I'll do this by playing more or less in their styles, compositions that they themselves have written or that they've made popular. In this internet age of digital encyclopedias, I won't spend time going into lengthy biographical information or stylistic analysis. Through the beauty of their music, I hope you'll be inspired to learn more about these pianists when you leave here. I open with a ragtime piece by one of the founders of that style, Jelly Roll Morton. With its repetitive pattern of bass notes on the first and third beats and chords on the second and fourth, ragtime eventually morphed into what we call the Harlem stride piano style, which had many elements of ragtime in it, but became more modern in its melodic contours. An inspiration to other pianists of his time, Jelly Roll helped codify ragtime and influence those who followed him, including the next, Thomas Fats Waller. Not only a pianist, he was an organist, a singer, and a comedic entertainer. He was also credited with writing one of the first jazz waltzes. Here is his classic in 3/4 time, Jitterbug Waltz. When I was 15 years old out in San Francisco, California, my church choir director took me to hear Earl Fatha Hines about this time of day, 3 o'clock on a Sunday at a little club. I'd never heard anything like it. His use of the full keyboard, using it like an orchestra, his abrupt, eccentric twists and turns, and his use of octaves in the right hand to help amplify his sound thrilled and amazed me. A member of Louis Armstrong's Hot Five band, Earl was preceded in that band by pianist Lil Hardin Armstrong, Louis's wife, who composed Struttin' with Some Barbecue. A successful band leader, and what a looker, with her own weekly radio show, the Mary Lou Williams Piano Workshop. This pianist also composed and arranged hundreds of pieces for Dizzy Gillespie, Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, many others. She was also a friend and mentor and teacher to Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, and Bud Powell. A great stride player, Mary Lou also helped develop and popularize boogie woogie with its incessant left-hand rhythmic patterns. Here is her Baby Bear Boogie. One of the kings of the Harlem stride piano style was James P. Johnson. He and other pianists of his time often engaged in cutting contests where they would try to outdo each other in terms of technical virtuosity, speed, and melodic inventiveness. Here's one of those battlefield classics, his Carolina Shout. I'm glad I wasn't around back in those days of the cutting contest. Teddy Wilson, he was a bridge pianist between the older period and the new bebop age. He was a mainstay of the swing era. Wilson was famous for his elegant, soft touch, use of tenths in the left hand, altered harmonies, florid Tatum-esque runs in the right hand. He was fond of this piece written by Anne Ronell, who was one of the first successful Hollywood and Tin Pan Alley female composers. Willow, Weep for Me. picture? Great picture of Monk. Great movie about Monk, if you haven't seen it, called Straight No Chaser. Black and white documentary, the real deal. I think it's probably available on Netflix, so check it out. Initially coming out of the Harlem stride piano style, Monk became, along with Bud Powell, one of the founding fathers of bebop. His unorthodox approach to the piano included dissonant clusters of notes, angular and often quirky melodies. But another side of Monk was his thoughtful, poignant ballads, of which Monk's Mood is one. It was once said of the British pianist Marian McPartland that she wouldn't make it as a jazz musician. She was, quote, too English, white, and a woman. Strong words. Her long stints at New York City's Hickory House and the Embers showcased her classy, sophisticated melodies. Not only did she make it as an international star, but hosted for over 30 years an NPR radio show called Piano Jazz, where she interviewed other pianists who she would play duets with and have them play a couple solos. When I was a guest on her show once, I surprised and hopefully delighted her with a rendition of her own piece, a bossa nova composition called Twilight World. Bud Powell. Wow, one of the founding fathers, along with Monk, of bebop piano. His playing, among other things, utilized hard-driving chromatic melodic lines in his right hand with jabbing accompanying chords in the left. Equally brilliant as a solo pianist, he led trios that were exciting and had a checkered career that left us a lot of beautiful records. One of my main men, Bud Powell, here's his piece, Hallucinations. John Lewis, best known for founding the MJQ, Modern Jazz Quartet. Now, dressed in tuxedos, they brought a new sense of elegance that helped move jazz from nightclubs to the concert hall. John was fond of writing music in a classical vein, specializing in elegant, restrained music that used sophisticated counterpoint inspired by Baroque music, and yet retaining a strong blues feel. I'll play his tribute song that he wrote to gypsy guitarist Django Reinhardt. For this next number, I would like you to please welcome to the stage my friend and pianist extraordinaire, Mark Marineau. Now, the hardest part of this number is the choreography. Duke Ellington's solo pieces, his sacred music, his music for his orchestra, the songs that he wrote that have become standards of the Great American Songbook, and his unique touch at the piano certainly qualifies him to be in this group. And Tonk, with its driving rhythms and bitonality, is a showcase number, was a showcase number, not often performed by Duke and Billy Strayhorn. And for those of you that don't know about Strayhorn, he was Ellington's alter ego. He contributed much of the music to the Ellington Orchestra. They were joined at the hip. Often they didn't know who had written what in a given tune, it said. Anyway, this was a number that they both wrote, and it gets its name from one of Duke's favorite card games, Tonk. So this is, this piece is also interestingly called Pianistically Allied, which is what we're going to do.
That's right.
All right, my left cheek.
We made sure that we could both fit on this bench.
I lost 5 pounds over the weekend just for this occasion. should have prepared more material. Mark will join me later in the program. Pianistically allied. I had the pleasure of playing opposite Dave Brubeck on tour once, and when I met him, I confirmed that his hands were as big as I had heard, with the ability to reach the interval of a 12th with the one hand. He combined that with a mind that thought like an orchestra, and it gave Dave the ability to sound like one. And when he improvised, you could certainly hear the composer in him at work. Dave successfully led his quartet for decades, and as an ambassador for jazz, pioneered the concept of taking jazz concerts into universities and colleges. Here is his haunting ballad, Strange Meadowlark. Horace Silver. Wow, a wonderful pianist, arranger, composer, band leader, holistic medical medicine man, and at the end of his life, writing music that he believed could heal people and did, and a record label owner, and consummate band leader. I knew Horace and I loved him dearly, and I loved his work ethic. He used to fine his sidemen $1 for every minute they were late to rehearsals and gigs. That endeared me. Watch out, Jamie. That endeared me to him. But I digress. He combined, we think of him mainly as a hard bop player, and he combined elements of blues, gospel, R&B, and funk. And in addition to his more complex songs, he also wrote things that were very memorable and accessible and that made the charts and were hits in their time. This is one of his lesser known numbers, but one of my favorites, The Outlaw. real Renaissance man, Clare Fischer, brought to jazz piano a new sound. He combined his advanced harmonic concept with modern classical music and Brazilian and salsa music, and also used organs and electric pianos in his presentation. Oh, I loved him so much. I knew him well. We used to work together in the studios in Hollywood in the 70s. In fact, we were on David Rose's scores of Little House on the Prairie. And I digress again, but it's a funny story. He was very proprietary about what he knew, let's put it that way. And on the breaks between takes in the studio, he would be over at the EX42 Yamaha organ doing these incredible Alban Berg-like improvisations. And I would go over there to look and try to steal some ideas, and he'd quickly cover his hands with a handkerchief. Clare Fischer, this is called Gaviota. It means the seagull. Jones. Not only was Hank Jones a wonderful pianist and a snappy dresser, he was a highly regarded studio pianist at CBS in New York for many years. And his work encompassed all kinds of trios, solo engagements, work with the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis Big Band, and an accompanist to singers. And his unparalleled artistry was, well, let me sing you about it. Here's a lyric that I wrote to Have You Met Miss Jones, which was one of the songs he loved to play. And I wrote some new lyrics as a dedication to Hank. I sang them to him just before his death. And I called them, Have You Heard Hank Jones? It goes something like this. No, it goes exactly like this. Have you heard Hank Jones play the piano with his sweet and lovely golden tones? I think you'll agree. Hank is smooth as silk. His harmonies, his chords, his touch are simply mother's milk to me. Hank plays so pretty all the time, never plays a wasted line. His sound is magical, he's so divine. So every time I play, I've got a Jones to try and make the piano sound Hank's way. Bill Evans brought a new lyricism, impressionistic chord voicings, and daring rhythmic displacement in his up-tempo bop numbers, as well as demonstrating a new way of group interplay within the piano, bass, and drums trio. I could go on all afternoon about him, but I won't. We'll have to save that for another session. This piece was composed upon the death of his brother, and it's called Turn Out the Stars, Bill Evans. McCoy Tyner, probably best known for his work with John Coltrane's quartet, but he made many important trio recordings, and Inception, Reaching Forth being two of the milestone albums in the literature. His use of pentatonic sounds, pedal points, and chords constructed in fourths were ear-opening. Here's his Blues on the Corner. I have no idea what time it is, but we have 3 left. It's been an awful big pleasure to be here and play for you today in this wonderful space. I can't thank you enough for coming out. And I want to, at this moment, just take a quick second to thank Len Tomlinson, Lois Eben, yes, all the staff here. at the museum for putting this on, and to the photographers that contributed: William Gottlieb, Herman Leonard, Getty Images, and Judy Kirtley. Thank you so much. Yes. Keith Jarrett, I believe that Keith probably came to prominence on the big stage when he worked with Miles Davis's electric groups, fusion groups, but he had a brilliant career aside from his work with Miles and Charles Lloyd, of course. As a solo pianist, Keith would often state a theme and then go off for 20 minutes in a free improvisation, sometimes singing with his improvs or playing flute or bells or saxophone, singing and standing up at the piano. A giant of a musician, and I'm going to attempt a piece of his called Sorcery, Keith Jarrett. Bill Evans, like Bill Evans, I could go on all afternoon in depth about Herbie Hancock, but suffice it to say, after his work with Miles Davis's quintet, well, before and after, but he made wonderful trio albums, and larger groups went on to also incorporate African and pop rhythms and electric keyboard synthesizers and all kinds of good things in his music. But I just want to go back to one of his pivotal albums from the 60s called Maiden Voyage. This was a theme album that he dedicated to the sea. This is Herbie's Dolphin Dance. Chick Corea. Another pianist who used all kinds of different techniques and instruments, synthesizers, organs, a handheld guitar-like instrument that had keys on it that he would walk about the stage playing. But he also made earlier records that used modern classical techniques in his compositions, and he had a virtuosic touch, Spanish tinged at times. This particular number I'm going to play exemplifies that. I don't have time to go on more about Chick. Not necessary. We'll let his music speak for itself. This is from his series of children's songs. This is number 6, Chick Corea. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, it's been a very big pleasure to be here and present this music. I'd like to ask my friend Mark Marineau to come back and join me for this last number. Yes. We started with a rag with the Jelly Roll piece, and we're going to end with one. I couldn't play a concert without getting one of my pieces in here. And this is a piece called The Great American Rag. I wrote it for the Don Ellis Orchestra, who was a trumpet player in L.A. who had a big band that specialized in odd time signatures. And he asked me, when ragtime was experiencing a revival in the... Where do I start? Oh, I'm down here. Experiencing a revival, he asked me to write a ragtime piece for him, but to put it in 5/4 time. So don't try to dance to this. The Great American Rag.